language itself in which the customer may write. Now, autocoder is a language that's evolved over the years with many machines within IBM. It's both a language and it's also a processor of the language. And very simply, it converts pseudo-English statements of the problem into machine language which can be run on the computer.
How long would you think it takes in order to train a person who is used to, let's say, punch card data processing, is fairly good at it, in order to acquire the skills necessary for the operations you described?
If we're talking about the program itself, through the autocoder experience that Jim has just suggested, we have two courses, basically. One to give them the general concepts, the other to teach them the exact language and methods of the 1440. The first course is a week in duration, the second one is 2 weeks in duration.
Well, that's very
and we would
short,
suggest
really,
that these be spread by a couple of weeks in between to give them time to think it over.
May I get back to questions of installations for a moment? Does this machine, the 1440, require, for instance, temperature control, air conditioning, and similar things?
Dr. Bree, the 1440, I believe, as was pointed out in the presentation from San Jose, uses the transistor circuitry, the latest type of circuitry, and hence it gives out a very low amount of heat. Now, there are certain maximums that have been established, and this is 90 degrees and 80% humidity. Mm-hmm. And if you're now operating very close to these limits, there is a chance that the 1440 would put you over the maximum, and in this case, a certain amount of air conditioning would be necessary. Chances are, however, it won't be.
There are not some other questions. If you convert, for instance, from punch cards to this type of computer system, which may be for many of the prospective users is an entirely new experience, do you still need all the big files of the old punch cards, or is it possible to just rely on the information as it is stored in the disk pack?
Doctor, you've hit on a very favorite topic of mine, and this is the whole area of establishing controls within any data processing installation.
He served up a fat one, huh?
No matter what technique is used, what system, what configuration of the 1440 is used, some accurate accounting controls must be always established. Now, I might give an example of one, and we'd certainly, there are many, many others. Assuming you have a 1440 with two file drives, it's possible to copy one file onto the other file in a little over 3 minutes. And this would mean that you'd always save yesterday's files plus today's transactions, so that if there was a need to do any reconstruction, we'd simply bring up yesterday's file and do the processing again.
Yeah.
Again, this is just an example of controls that have to be established.
I have another question. If somebody goes into data processing here with a relatively small electronic computer, what is the possibility, for instance, to increase its size? First of all, its physical size if the company grows. What are the potentials there?
Let me take that one again, if I may. I have come equipped with some scale models that I think could be used to illustrate this. Let's take a look at what the 1440 would look like. We can start with a central processing unit, a console, and a card reader punch. And this, Doctor, we would term the minimum 1440 configuration. Now, to this, we can add the printer that we saw from San Jose. We can add one file, we can add an additional file, and we can add even up to 5 of the disk file drives. In addition to this, we can add a second reader punch. So there you see what we'd call the maximum 1440. And additional growth then beyond this, of course, is in the 1400 family, that is growth to the 1401 and even the 1410.
Gentlemen, what do you think the installation of the 1440 will do to the way management operates now?
I think I'll start off, and I'm sure that the others of us may have some comments along these lines. I think the first way to look at it is that the computer itself is installed and run by the people within a business organization, not by someone outside the business organization. because it's only the employees of the business itself that truly understand the business's problems, and they're the ones that should run the system, operate the system, and decide what the system should do so it will meet their needs and not anyone else's needs.
Well, I think we also have to keep in mind that the computer should never be considered as anything other than a management tool. It is not restrictive. It's meant to help management make decisions easier, give them more time for creative work, etc.
Gentlemen, I wonder if the 1440 might have some application in the broad field of education. For example, could it help the teacher?
It can help the teacher in a very big way, and that is to take some of those clerical functions which we've been heaping on top of our teachers for so many years and put them where they can be done more efficiently and more economically, and leave the teaching job to the teacher himself.
Well, the response to that was so encouraging. Let me try another. In my profession of journalism, we're constantly looking for quick reference works which will give us the correlation of time, events, subject, and the people who had something to do with it. Do you see the possibility of a 1440 being used, for example, if I wanted quick information on the first Foreign Ministers' Conference of 1945?
I think, Chet, that possibly are you referring to information retrieval?
Yes.
This is the term that we have used the last year or two in IBM, and information retrieval certainly is one of the more dramatic applications of the computer today that we've seen in quite some time. And I'm sure that if some people in the journalism world sit down with some of the people in the IBM company, that we could work out a program that would help you retrieve information about a conference someplace in Europe.
This is very interesting, and I want to talk to you about it some more when this program is concluded. Dr. Bree, thank you very much for all your assistance and good help.
Well, it was a pleasure, sir. And it was interesting, wasn't it?
Indeed it was. We have another distinguished guest with us today. It is now my privilege to introduce Mr. Warren Hume, President of the Data Processing Division of IBM. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Chet. And thanks to all of you for joining us. You have just had your first view of our new 1440 data processing system. You've seen a few of the tasks the 1440 can do, and you've heard about the programming and personnel support we have for the system. First, I'd like to spend just a few moments explaining what I believe is the true significance of today's event. The colorful history of business and industry has often been marked by occasions when technological achievements bounded ahead of the economic capabilities of production. The horseless carriage was a fact long before automobiles became available at a price everyone could afford. Everyone needed the transportation, but better transportation for broader markets took a little while. We can all remember when jet power was confined to the super airlines. Technically speaking, the jet age had arrived. But because of economics, jet planes were only used by transocean and cross-country travel. In time, the economics caught up to the engineering. And today, jet power is available for smaller commercial aircraft. It's even available for business and private planes. The progress of electronic data processing has followed a similar pattern. Within the larger companies, electronic data processing systems are a well-accepted and much-used business tool. Stored programming and random access processing have proved their value in thousands of applications. Now, smaller businesses have the same need. Their problems are just as varied and just as complex as the larger businesses. The real difference is volume. Larger businesses have the volume that has economically justified the use of large-scale data processing systems. Today, with this announcement of our low-cost 1440, the use of such a powerful data processing tool by smaller business can be economically justified. We have taken the inherent capabilities of the large data processing systems and put them into a system that is economically compatible with lower volume operation. This is a real breakthrough. Now, businesses of smaller volume have the same means and the same tools to solve their many and complex problems. And these tools are available at a price that smaller business can well afford. I'm sure many of you have questions about the 1440 system, particularly its adaptability to your business. I know your IBM representative can help you here. He's standing by, ready to answer any questions you may have. Thank you, and goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Hume. And good afternoon for IBM.